Meri krihi te whānau. It is around that time, the festive season, and at this point, you are finishing off the current training cycle called the Vision Training Cycle. Today, this breakdown is the Black Panther training cycle. So this is cycle number 4 as an iteration across our whole year timeline periodization block through the CrossFit Games season. When you get to start this training program, you will start on January the 5th. And it's going to run all the way through to the quarterfinals weekend, March 27th, or around that time of 2026. So along that region, you're going to begin with a transition week. So obviously, we would have just come off the back of a 4-week pretty intensive cycle. It'll have a bit of play mechanics in there. And it will also allow that transitional period to get yourselves back in that first week of the year, or first full week of the year being January 12th. And start our kind of training regime as we approach the CrossFit Open, the quarterfinals, and then hopefully we get some of those people that have gone through that into the semi-finals and further beyond. So as it stands, the top 25% of participants in the CrossFit Open will make the quarterfinals. That's 1 in every 4 people. So you look at 3 people next to you, 1 of you could potentially go through. And that's kind of what this is about. How can we best prepare ourselves for the CrossFit Open and the CrossFit quarterfinals for 2026? Those who will be successive in going from quarterfinals through to the semi-finals, this will be another additional layer to that jump in the process as well. And that'll be 7 or 8 weeks in between for added training to get to that type of volume needed. So this is going to be a little sample shot of what to expect in the upcoming training cycle, and some of the returns, intentions, and benefits from that. As we just mentioned, the 2 kind of main flags here are the quarterfinals and the CrossFit Open. Both of those, in my opinion, matter. They can give you a difference in seeding positions. If you're a team, the CrossFit Open is going to be the way that you qualify for the semi-final bracket and division. If you're an age group, there's the potential to get through to those next brackets as well, in terms of even the games process and picking some of those tickets up at semi-finals events now too, which would be pretty cool. So as it stands, on a Monday, we are going to be doing squat cleans as cluster sets. So think 3 reps, pause 15 seconds, 3 reps, pause 15 seconds, go again for X amount of sets and X amount of repetitions, and it's going to be at certain governed loads that would represent those types of time framing. So this is all about strength endurance. We've just come off the back of doing a few multiple blocks at increasing true 1RM strength, and now as we get through to the season, it's very, very likely that you are asked to lift whilst under fatigue, so at the end of a workout, and then add some load to the barbell to perform a 1 rep max lift or a complex, and or heavy loaded barbell 30 clean and jerks for time at 110 kilos males, 80 kilos for the ladies, or something like that, so we can see who can kind of repeat power output. And those are more so the tests now than just true 1RMs. If it's not necessary that if you have a 1RM, you can do the capacity work too. If you can do the capacity work, the 1RM isn't necessarily the reason why you will or won't qualify for that next bracket. So it's more important to have the strength endurance than it is to have that true 1RM strength, although both are nice, right? The conjugate method is here in this training cycle. So we will see squats, front squat and back squat. We will see bench press multiple days a week. This is quite often a test that you would see in the quarterfinals as well. I like to think of it as you probably wouldn't see a bench press in the CrossFit Open. We haven't yet anyway. Logistically, you have to put your mind frame into how does the logistics work in terms of people's gear that are in their gyms or in their household's garage. How do we get people through all of these amounts of repetitions and lifts? And the quarterfinals is kind of like a testing ground to add in those odd objects. And I'm still kind of waiting for things like the kettlebell carries were in the 2022 age group quarterfinals, and we haven't seen them implemented into this other section yet. It was successful, in my opinion, And I like to look at major sports, and when they want to make changes to sports and the elite divisions, they'll often go down to the AAU or collegiate type level and implement some of these potential changes in rulings or movement standards, whatever, and to see if it works, and then they'll introduce it into that higher stake game. And this is what I see. So yeah, nothing's really off the table in terms of like trying to prepare, but you can definitely narrow your window and scope down, to understand what the tests are throughout the open and the quarterfinals at the very least. Anyhow, as I mentioned, conjugate method. So for those that don't know, it's accommodating resistance. Traditionally, actually, you'd have a light week or light day within the week where you would have some sort of accommodating resistance, and we're trying to promote fast type 2 muscle fibers, and we're getting speed out of our lifts. Then you'd have a moderate set loading day just to get some reps in and kind of a sustainable stimulus of enough work but not overstressing the muscle, enough for recovery. And then you would have a heavy and slow day. So you kind of, the framework is move heavy, slow, move light, fast, move moderate, but then in conjunction move heavy, fast. If you move slow all the time, you're generally just going to move slow. There will be some plyometrics in this program, some seated box jumps, some bounds, and that's just to really promote 1, athleticism, 2, coordination, 3, hip extension, probably more than anything, but for my favorite buzzword, power expression or expression of power. The workouts on a Monday will be around that 10-minute or less time frame, so very open-esque. And quarterfinal-esque as well. Machine work, like expect to do some machine work. If you're not doing machine work now, and you have high hopes of going through quarterfinals and into semifinals, I think just rewrite or go back to the drawing board and see what you're really doing, because we need to get a ton of machine work in, whether that's solo, monostructural intervals, or whether that's mixed modal. We should be looking at doing 20, 30, 40 minutes at this point in the season, at least 2 times a week, up to 4 times a week. You could probably include the running in that as well, or if not, every other day as a second session. The worst thing that's going to happen, you're going to get aerobically fit, which is really good for the body system, just to repair, replenish, lactate within the muscles and promote good oxygenation or good blood flow around the body. Basically, the fitter you are, the better you can heal within a workout and from workout to workout. So if you look at that as a macro scope across the quarterfinals itself being 3-4 days, then you can essentially turn up to that final day and give the same required intensity and effort as if you were fresh, versus somebody who's probably not as aerobically fit, has taken on that damage, and by that final day is really feeling the effects of the lunges the day prior, the GHDs the day prior, and by the time I get to this, I can't hit my clean and jerk. I'm 80% of my 1 rep max because everything is just so sore. On a Tuesday, we have the behind the neck split jerk. So we've just kind of come out of the front rack split jerk. We were really focusing on footwork positions, pausing in those in positions, and if we had any kind of instabilities or wobbliness, we were adjusting those mechanics, keeping that high mechanical tension on the barbell as we kind of hunkered down into a strong position. This one is from behind the neck. What I like about behind the neck is if you get it right, you can actually generally split jerk or put over your head more than you can from the front rack. So we will be going into potential overhead squat 1RMs and things like that within the quarterfinals and the semifinals. But generally for most people, getting the bar there is the hardest part. So this is a good time to learn the behind the neck split jerk. But as I said, if you get the pattern down pat, you can generally do more because the line of drive is more closer to the midfoot or slash heel than it is in the front rack position. It's not compressive on the collarbone slash breathing mechanics. Doesn't really require that much of a high elbow position for the front rack. However, the I guess where it gets nullified is just one, proprioception, so can't see the bar. People generally get afraid, so they push it forward so they can see it, drops down. not getting the head out of the way, clipping the head on the back, and or just not being aware of the line, so pushing it too far behind, and then it kind of stretching that tension on the pec/shoulder area. But I think it's a valuable skill to learn. Drop your percentages, do 100 reps on an empty barbell, find that line, find that mechanic, learn how to re-rack, all of these things that we probably overlook, just the nuances of skills, even hook grip, for example. Everything is valuable. On that second day, so once you've gone from that kind of skill to heavy behind the neck split jerk, we have the light banded accommodating resistance bench press. So this is going to be quite a lot of reps and sets. It's 10 sets. 2 reps, light bands, but obviously, as you could imagine, if you don't know, accommodating resistance, band tension at the top. As I decrease, the band goes almost like flaccid. As I push through the band, it adds tension throughout, so I get through that sticky point with the extra resistance. Barbell conditioning, very, very important, just to learn how to cycle those barbells. You get, at these times of the years, you get your Isabels, clean and jerks, with the Grace, so snatches for Isabel, clean and jerks, Grace, you get DT, a whole bunch of these themes. So it's just important that you are competent, comfortable, and understand how to wield the barbell, and it'll pay dividends. Metcons on a Tuesday will be almost like time domain based and trying to accumulate or accrue reps to get out. Common theme, especially within the semi-final sector, and then mixed modal second session plus an aerobic run. So day 2 or Tuesday is where you're going to see your first aerobic run, and it's if you can spare the time, if you want to be good at this as an athlete, it's time to start running. It's time to start running. I might be saying that to myself here, but it's time to start running, especially where it is a second session, longer aerobic stuff. Make the time. If not, if you've been avoiding these things, color training day. Get rid of a training day and add the running instead, and prioritize that. And if it's not there for you, don't allow yourself to do the work unless it is. And if you can't run for whatever reason, whether it be Achilles, calves, shoes, feet, go out and address it. Go out and see some physios, see some sport docs, whatever the issue, fix it. Or then change that to other machines, because I tell you what, it's easy to go into the gym and just lie down and bench press and back squat and things like that, but really to get the heart rate up and the sustainable paces, not even just long duration is difficult within itself. That's a skill. Just to be doing something brain numbingly for 20, 30, 40 minutes uninterrupted, whether that's running or not, that's difficult in itself. Anyhow, cluster sets for your squat snatches on a Wednesday. That is going to be supported with a primary drill prior, and you can think like tool snatches, drop snatch balances, speed, tension, mechanical tension, pressure, mobility, all of these things. Back squats, and these are going to be just like regular back squats and a base high percentage, so something that lives in that strength realm. Low reps up to 3 reps, just high weights, 75-80% minimum across the whole cycle. And then we have some intervals. We were trying to pick up cadence. They're yucky in the sense of like the combinations of the movements. As an example, here I've got one in front of me, 4 sets. 20 bar facing burpees, 15 thruster, 52.5 kilo male, 35 for ladies, 10 bar muscle ups. Now at high cadence, that's going to be difficult. Once through, not so bad. If it was 3 rounds for time, just go. You're really going to have to pace these things and learn about, where I stand and how do I break it up, etc. But the way that it's written here, it's almost as a 1-to-1 work-rest ratio. And so that should be enough to keep that intensity. So then when you do get to the 3 to 5 rounds for time, you've got a better idea at where's my 80% sustainable pace throughout the workout. Or if they have a 3-minute work window, we know how much gas we can keep on the throttle in a sense. Second session, rowing is going to be a mainstay, but mixed with something else, and that's going to be like grit. Quite often you see row step-ups, row wall balls, row deadlifts, just things that aren't too high skill, but very much test anaerobic power output, more leaning towards aerobic capacity, But a lot of that is kind of just mental toughness and grit is what it really comes down to. But they'll be done in intervals, so you can build that over those sets. And then we're going to be doing some barbell junction with gymnastics as supporting that, and that will be almost on the heavier side. On day 4 of training in our week, as per, this is just the mainstay in the 6-4 training system's arsenal. Option 1, rest day. Option 2, catch-up piece from wherever you missed it in the week. Option 3, longer modality aerobic type work. Slower pace, recovery type of eliciting slow oxygen through the blood by keeping the heart rate down and low contractile force of the movements. And then option 4, swim session. On day 5, we start with morning monostructural, so just nice and easy, something to get into the gym, do a quick little warm-up, and then off you go with your bike, row, run, burpee type movements, anywhere between that 30 to 40 minute marker, no more. And we're looking for some decent intensity out of these ones. And then we're going to work on some shapes and mechanics. So those shapes are gymnastic shapes, dip holds, hollow holds, back extension holds, isometrics, supporting body weight throughout those shapes. The second session, skill work, so gymnastic skills, and in this cycle, think ring muscle up, rope climb, wall facing handstand push-up, deficit kipping handstand push-up, anything that are going to be roadblock markers within the quarterfinals to semifinal situation is what gets worked on here. It'll be our second day of barbell conditioning. So we have that second barbell conditioning after that skill component, and then a workout around that 10 to 15 minute time domain. Something that's not too high skill. Obviously, we've just done the skill prior to that. So something that's going to be more continuous in flow and doesn't necessarily require 100% output, just more understanding transitions in and out, unbroken sets. The numbers of reps of these movements are made so that if you wanted to break, you kind of wouldn't, because you're 1 or 2 reps off of finishing the set anyway. So it's almost just drip feeding that into there. Second session, you will have quarterfinals styled intervals. So think sandbags, carries, awkward objects and things of the sort. And then that's going to also have an option for another zone 2 30 to 60 minute piece where you either pick up running, rowing, biking, and that's all on your own accord. You can or don't have to do those things, but again, as mentioned, if you want to be the best that you can be, it's highly suggested that you do those things. On a Saturday, we do all of our lifting in one go. We're going to clean and jerk, and we're going to snatch. Following that, we have our heavier set of bench press where we're looking to grow strength. Earlier in the week, we did our accommodating resistance, lighter stuff, more of the speed work. So now we've got the heavy on the Saturday, and then a mech on that supports those higher skill movements, probably more muscular fatigue rather than cardiovascular, and just seeing how we can chop through that. Then you're going to have some movement type play stuff with options. So one that sticks out in front of me right now, a workout with 3 rounds or 3 sets of intervals with some dual dumbbell overhead lunge steps. Now for many people, this is the hardest movement that you could probably be awarded. So there's different ways to get through it. You could do 5 kilo dumbbells for all we care and just pick the movement pattern up and start to build. You can do as written or at 32.5 kilos males, 22 for the ladies. It's just one of those things where we need to start doing these movements and in conjunction with other combinations so we can really stress test your ability, so when they pop up you have some understanding of how you're exactly going to do it. The second session on that day is more so just some lighter refrained work from the skill work and aerobic, and that kind of rounds out our training block. It has the allowances, the intensities and tolerances to match week to week to get to the open week 1, 2, 3. There's 1 week in between, then quarterfinals, so it's all tailored for. The percentages match, but I would say do your work early. Get into the start of January. If you want to be good in March, January is your start. December right now is your start, and it will bode you really, really well if you want to have the most successful CrossFit season that you can have. It starts now. Let's go.